When you look at New Hampshire, why do you think New Hampshire is the right place for you and your message?
Well, it's a primary, and just like my state and a lot of states across the country, you have independents voting as well as fired-up Democrats. You have moderate Republicans who are registered as independents. It's much more reflects that it's not caucuses. It's actually people can just go and quietly vote in the voting booth for whoever they think would be the best president. I think the fact that I have all the newspaper endorsements of the major newspapers, every single one of them in the state of New Hampshire, in addition to the New York Times, that's going to matter here. People read through that and saw the point that every single editorial board, including the union leader, made, and that is that I can answer the tough questions, I can lead, and I can bring not only our party together, which I think people saw on the debate stage and last night at the dinner, where I was able to get everyone there with me during my speech, but also that I am able to lead our country. And that's my closing argument to people, and that we need a president that has empathy for people, who's very different than Donald Trump, and that can bring people with her.
You made the case the other night about your record, and you were really the first to challenge Pete Buttigieg on not being experienced enough to be the leader of the free world.
Well, I think that should matter. We had so many debates where it was just about whose policy is better than whose policy. That's great. But wait a minute, shouldn't we step back and look at who has the experience to lead, especially when we have a brand newcomer in the White House right now? Maybe we should look at who can actually work with Congress, work across the aisle, not just have the talking points, not just saying it well, but actually getting it done.
But why do you think he's doing so well in the polls and well with voters?
You know, he's run a smart campaign, but it's one state, and we are moving on from there. And I have always defied expectations, or I wouldn't still be standing on the debate stage and with the people here in New Hampshire. And I think that debate said a lot. I think it's important to look at what people have done. It's important to see what they do when the chips are down. Resiliency matters. It's important to see if people don't just say the most popular thing in the room, like, oh, impeachment is exhausting, I think I'm going to turn the channel and watch cartoons. He said that. Me, I was sitting there and watching as Doug Jones took this incredibly brave vote, as Mitt Romney in tears, probably his whole future different for him as a person, but yet he was willing to show leadership in that moment. I don't think we should making fun of what the rule of law is in this country and the Constitution and the people that make brave decisions. I don't care if it's in Washington. I don't care if Washington's unpopular. You as a leader have to rise above that.
What do you have to do here in New Hampshire in order to get the money and the momentum to keep going? You've got Super Tuesday up ahead.
I do.
Not too long from now.
So here's our good news. Since the debate, it hasn't even been, 48 hours since the debate, we have raised over $2.5 million from regular people online. That's without fundraisers in this time period. It is simply regular people giving online, and we see that continuing. That's how we're going to get to where we are. And on that debate, people, a lot of them saw me for the first time, and I don't have the name ID of a number of my opponents. I didn't have the bank account, but the more they see me, the better we do.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.